and her song Driver's License, Olivia Rodrigo says she got her driver's license last week, just like she and her love interest in the song had talked about. Olivia may be one of the few Gen Z-ers who can say that. The rest don't seem to be interested.
And I came to a realization, like, all of my close friends right now, like, none of us have a driver's license. It's definitely becoming, like, more and more common, I think.
I chose not to get a driving license.
I don't have a driver's license, no.
But this is not unusual. According to the Insurance Information Institute, only 25% of 16-year-olds in the US had driver's licenses in 2020, compared to 43% in 1997. But why are Gen Zers reluctant to drive?
I think there's a lot of overlapping things going on.
This is Daniel Knowles, a correspondent at The Economist and the author of Carmageddon, a book that discusses the negative impact of automobiles in modern society.
This is a generation that is very kind of eco-aware, worried about the impacts of fossil fuels. People are aware of the damage that driving is doing to the environment, and so there's an urge to get away from that.
I'm obviously very concerned about emissions. I would say that the majority of my friends, some of them do have licenses and some of them don't. But we are all fairly cognizant of the environmental impacts of driving. The Department of Energy says that every year, cars are responsible for the release of about 1.5 billion tons of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere, with each car burning about 20 pounds of GHG per gallon of gasoline. In recent polls, Gen Zers have demonstrated to be more active than older generations in addressing climate change by actively volunteering, protesting, and adopting ecological measures, actions fueled in part by the anxiety they feel about the future. But that unease isn't limited to climate change.
Driving has got a lot more stressful, particularly the last few years since the pandemic. It seems like an awful lot of people are just driving a lot worse, and it's scary. You know, we see this in the rise in the number of deaths, the rise in the number of car crashes.
I've had really bad anxiety my entire life, and just driving definitely triggers it for me.
So many, like, people that I know that have either, been hurt, permanently hurt, or they have died from cars. So I didn't want to put anyone's life at risk by, driving a car.
The number of fatalities from car crashes increased 23% from 2011 to 2021, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, with 2021 seeing the highest accident rate since 2005. Moreover, teens ages 13 to 19 are 3 times more vulnerable than other age groups to suffer car accidents, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. There's another factor making Gen Zers pump the brake on driving: car prices.
It used to be in the 1950s or 1960s, there weren't that many cars on the roads then. Certainly the very beginning of the auto age in the 1920s, if you got a car, it really was this very liberating thing. You were able to get from A to B, from wherever you wanted to go in your own personal vehicle, at your beck and call. It was a lot more convenient and comfortable than getting on a train or a bus. And so that was exciting. That came with ideas of liberation that car companies could sell. And now it's something you're sort of forced to do. It's kind of a shock to be told, all of a sudden you've got to spend, on average, $10,000 a year on running and owning a vehicle. It's
not just owning that license that is a cost. It's also the safety of being in a car, the cost of maintaining, insurance, cost of paying that car, and especially for college students, it's very expensive because we have tuition.
It was just like a lot of money, and for me, it just didn't look like it was worth it.
It's way too expensive. So
between 2010 and 2020, the average cost of owning and operating a vehicle increased over $2,000 per year, with its highest spike occurring during the COVID-19 pandemic in 2019. In 2022, the average American paid $10,729 annually on vehicle costs, which includes fuel, insurance, and accessories. And while Gen Zers are driving less, this doesn't mean cars are going away anytime soon.
It's not going to be this kind of dramatic thing of one generation suddenly stops having cars, because the world is what it is. Like millennials, Gen Z will, at least a majority, will still have to turn to driving, but they won't always want to. That's the difference.